There's a particular kind of silence that isn't passive. It's not the silence of someone who has nothing to say. It's the silence of someone who has decided, consciously, deliberately, that speaking would cost them the wrong thing. Most of us never experience that. We fill silence, we explain ourselves, we correct the record. The idea of staying quiet while someone lies about you in public, in front of a judge, with your life on the line, that's almost unimaginable. And then, after all that silence, suddenly answering one question. One. The question that ends everything. That shift from total silence to total exposure, that's what Matthew 26 is about. And when you look at what Jesus actually says and doesn't say, the pattern is deliberate, surgical, and it changes everything about how you read this scene. Verse 57. They've arrested Jesus in Gethsemane, and they bring him to Caiaphas, the high priest. And Matthew tells you that the scribes and elders were already assembled there. Already, in the middle of the night. That detail matters. This isn't a spontaneous hearing. This is a meeting that was planned before anyone went to the garden. The deck is stacked before Jesus walks in the room. Then verse 59. Now the chief priests and the whole council were seeking false testimony against Jesus that they might put him to death. Matthew doesn't hide this. He just states it plainly. They're not looking for truth. They're looking for a charge that will hold. Verse 60. But they found none, though many false witnesses came forward. Many. The Greek word is polloi, a large number. Multiple witnesses, multiple attempts, all of them fail, not because Caiaphas can't find people willing to lie, but because the testimonies don't agree with each other. Under Jewish law, specifically Deuteronomy 19:15, you needed 2 witnesses whose testimony aligned. They couldn't get it to line up. Then verse 61, 2 witnesses finally come forward and say, "This man said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to rebuild it in 3 days." And Jesus says, verse 63, nothing. Matthew uses a specific phrase, esiopēsen. He was silent. He remained silent. It's an imperfect tense, which in Greek indicates a continuous action. He kept being silent, not one silence, a sustained, ongoing silence while the accusations land around him. Caiaphas gets frustrated. Verse 62. Have you no answer to make? What is it that these men testify against you? And still Jesus doesn't answer. This is extraordinary. The high priest of Israel is demanding a response. The social pressure alone in that room would be immense. The political pressure, the survival pressure, and Jesus says nothing. Then verse 63 pivots hard. Caiaphas says, I adjure you by the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. And Jesus speaks, you have said so, but I tell you, from now on you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven. 2 questions, essentially. First, are you the Messiah? Second, are you the Son of God? And Jesus answers both. After staying silent through everything else, here's why that silence before isn't passivity. The temple accusation is a distortion of something Jesus actually said. John 2:19 records him saying, destroy this temple and in 3 days I will raise it up. But he was talking about his body, not the building. So the charge is a misquotation. It's wrong. And Jesus knows it's wrong. And he doesn't correct it. Why? Because correcting it isn't the point. The witnesses are already failing because their testimony doesn't align. The legal case is collapsing on its own. If Jesus starts engaging the false testimony, he gives it energy. He legitimizes the proceeding. He starts playing their game on their terms. The silence isn't defeat. The silence is refusal. The early church read this through Isaiah 53, verse 7. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. Like a lamb that is led to the slaughter, and like a sheep that before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. Matthew's first-century Jewish audience would have heard that echo immediately. This is the suffering servant. This is the one who absorbs injustice without retaliation. And Matthew has been building toward this moment for 6 chapters. But, and this is the turn, the silence breaks for one specific question. Not the temple charge, not any of the accusations. The question that breaks Jesus' silence is the question about his identity. Are you the Christ, the Son of God? And he answers it knowing exactly what answering will cost. The phrase Jesus uses, "You have said so," is not evasion. In first-century Greek idiom, su apostes is an affirmation. It's the equivalent of saying, "Your words, not mine, but yes." Then he adds the Daniel 7 language, the Son of Man coming on the clouds, seated at the right hand of power. That's not a vague spiritual statement. For a first-century Jewish audience, quoting Daniel 7:13 in combination with Psalm 110:1 is a claim of divine authority so precise it would have been unmistakable. Caiaphas tears his robe, verse 65. The tearing of robes was the formal, ritual response to blasphemy under Jewish law. He isn't just emotionally shocked. He's declaring that Jesus has violated the law. He deserves death. Verse 66, and the whole council agrees. So here's what this passage actually says. Jesus doesn't answer the false charges, not because he can't, but because silence is the appropriate response to a proceeding that's already illegitimate. He doesn't validate the theater by performing inside it. But when the question becomes one of ultimate truth, who are you, really? He doesn't protect himself. He tells the truth, the costly truth, the truth that will be used as the charge that kills him. That's a very specific ethic. There's a difference between defending yourself and telling the truth. Jesus won't do the first, he will do the second, even when the second destroys him. And that's the thing most people flatten when they read this scene. They make it about suffering, about endurance, about Jesus being noble under pressure. But the driver isn't nobility. It's clarity about what actually matters. He's not silent because he's resigned. He's not silent because he's overwhelmed. He's silent because the false charges don't deserve the dignity of a defense. But he won't be silent about who he is, not even when speaking means dying. Think about where that shows up in your own life. How often do you exhaust yourself managing your reputation, correcting misunderstandings, clarifying what you actually meant, defending your record, while going completely quiet about what you actually believe, what you actually value, who you actually are? The energy goes to the things that don't matter most. The real question gets deferred. The real answer stays private, because giving it out loud would cost too much. The trial before Caiaphas is a picture of someone who has those inverted, who lets the false things go unanswered and speaks the true thing, even when it kills him. The silence isn't weakness. The speech isn't courage in some abstract sense. Both are just honesty about what's worth defending and what isn't. Peter's denial is only 3 verses later in this same chapter. Same night, same pressure. Peter facing a servant girl, not the high priest. And Peter, who has been loudly committed to Jesus for 3 years, can't hold the truth about who he is under the mildest possible social pressure. Jesus holds it in front of the Sanhedrin. The contrast Matthew sets up isn't incidental. It's the whole point of keeping these 2 scenes inside the same chapter. Faithfulness and its failure side by side. Not to shame Peter, to show you how high the ask actually is, and to be honest that the ask doesn't come with a guarantee you'll meet it.